now. Holy shit, folks.
I always remind people, I am suspended for life for minor hockey.
It's my duty to please the booty.
Did you catch a rattlesnake and then drive home with it in your car holding it the whole time?
Yep.
Phil only drinks Coke. He doesn't drink water. I'll fucking quit.
Fugazis.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 440 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. We're a week into the playoffs, out of control. So many overtimes. We just left the Bruins game. They lost. I don't know what to fucking say right now. Let's say hi to the boys first. I'm a little flustered. Matt Murls, what's shaking with you, buddy?
Not much. I got my Avs jersey on. I know Whit hates it that I wear game jerseys to the games, but the Avs are on tonight, and I need a big night from 29, so I got the jersey on.
I thought I was going to be wearing the crown of worst take in Spittin Chiclets history for a long. No.
You picked a team that broke every single record in the history of the league to miss the playoffs. I said something that, while being very unpopular, has backers. You had no backers. You had nothing but absolute horrible information to give us. Mine was an L take in some respects, but we'll get to it. Yours is the biggest loser take in the history of this show, and it'll forever be that way, busy boy.
What you don't understand is it's not us who decides, it's the fans who decide. And as far as engagement,
yeah, and I got backers, buddy.
I got Pasha doesn't too. Matter, buddy. You got ratioed.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? You have nothing.
You got ratioed harder than anybody has ever been ratioed on the Spittin Chiclets channel.
That right there.
The Pasha situation is such a distant memory at this point.
You're just so obsessed with the internet and the comments, and I go by real life. And look, you're laughing. You live on the internet.
You
That's
wouldn't
your
know
world.
what real life
That's
is if it fucking slapped you in the face.
On the internet. I live in the real world, and I got backers.
No, you don't, because the real world is blue-collar fans.
It may be my own little real world, but it's a real world.
The real world is blue-collar fans rocking jerseys to the game, representing their favorite players, and paying the salaries of these hardworking guys on the ice. And once again, you wouldn't know anything about the common man, and that's why you have the biggest L take in Spittin Chiclets history. And if you don't believe me, let's leave it to the people to decide. Why don't you do a Twitter poll, G? But once again, it's not going to matter because Whit doesn't listen to the real people on this planet, just that fake little world he's living in. I wore that L on my forehead, the Boston take, but for you to not say that that's the biggest L take, all right, I'll throw it to you. You're the blue-collar man. I want you to stick up for our blue-collar listeners. Was that not the biggest L
Say
take?
blue-collar again.
I will.
I mean, there's a zillion nominees. I mean, I've said dumb shit. We've all said dumb shit in the show. I think we'd have to see a full list, but I don't know. It's part and parcel of the program. I mean, bad take. I'm probably the king of them right now.
Oh, shocker. RA being impartial. Murls, let's throw it to you. Murls.
I didn't realize
it. Shit on Whit, but I mean, I don't know. You said the Bruins weren't going to make the playoffs, Biz. That's just tough to fucking fight with that one.
Then fucking dunk on me, buddy. Then
just an uphill battle with an avalanche coming down in your face. You said the Bruins are going to miss the playoffs. You're trying to deflect. You said the best team in the history of the sport is going to miss the playoffs.
Well, they might lose in the first round now, so
all right, now that I think about it, you're right. Maybe I haven't been dethroned.
No, we'll get into the jersey thing. An amazing online debate, but way more important things, I would say, going on. Yeah, the Bruins. That's an issue right now. Murls, your gambling show, though, is red hot.
Yeah, the show is doing great. All our guests are doing great too. We just had Fights on today. He comes up with the idea to do a bet where you can bet on Bergeron to score from the bumper. Never even heard of this. I was trying to get odds on it for him, but I couldn't find it. But Bergie scored from the bumper. That was amazing. It's been a blast getting on there, and the fans get in on the chat, and it is so much fun talking with them. It's been great.
Chuck got the game winner, correct? Because I had to leave. I hate.
Weren't you at the game?
Well, we were recording at 10, so I had to leave, man. Priorities, buddy. I left the game early because I didn't want to be late for recording. So I did. I started on the TV, but I was setting shit up. But just that shit ended. I mean, regardless of who you're rooting for, you hate to see a game end with like a fucking pair of pizzas like that. No.
It's just a horrible ending, and we'll kind of get more in depth to it. But the fact that there was a chance for it to be the exact opposite in Bruins fans' minds and Bruins regulation bettors, with almost the most epic ending to a series I can ever remember. Like, I would have bet anything he was going to score on that breakaway, Marchand. And he had time to go to his backhand and put in his 5-hole, which he always does. I think the announcer said it maybe. And boom, Bobrovsky steals the game, and they're alive.
That's 11th overtime game. At least 4 game 6s. No sweeps yet. Tons of stuff going on. Biz, has there been a team that surprised you a ton or disappointed you a ton so far in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of get into the Leafs chatter right now, off the hop. Like, let's fucking maybe get her going here.
Sure. A. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, an epic comeback. They're so used to having that move done on them. Leafs down by 3 goals. They tie it up, win in overtime, have a 3-1 lead over Tampa right now. I mean, it must be hot-ons all over Ontario right now, Biz.
They stole one. They didn't deserve to win either of those games in Tampa Bay, but the core 4 has now been activated. And look out, Tampa. I'm saying Leafs in 5, 100%. And obviously, we're going to get into the bunting stuff and the Derek Lalonde stuff. Did you guys get any of that media situation?
So fill everyone in, and then I can give you my opinion. So people didn't know about this.
So even I said, and I think we had a bit of a disagreement, that Riley goal looked a little bit soft in overtime after they tied it up late by Riley in Game 3, and then it was a seeing eye shot as they snapped it back off the draw. Riley takes a step to the left and ends up finding that top corner. Well, you see that the tying goal as time was winding down there in Game 4 when Riley, once again at the blue line, uses JT in front of the net as a screen. He gets his second goal of the playoffs, and Vasilevsky's having a hard time tracking it. And then on top of that, you see the OT goal where, I mean, it's hard to blame him on that one. That's a point shot and a crossbody tip from Kerfoot. But Sportsnet hired Derek Lalonde to go on to do analysis during the playoffs, and I was shocked to see the clip because you almost feel like he's throwing the coach's room under the bus. And maybe when you're hired by Sportsnet, you maybe feel a little bit of pressure in that moment to provide insight and say something with context. Well, he goes on to say, as a team, when he was there, analytically, they discovered that point shots were Vasilevsky was one of the weakest goalies in the league when facing like distant point shots. He was having a hard time tracking the puck. So what
blocker
they did
side, right?
Blocker side. I think it really pertained to everything, but maybe more so blocker side, and that they'd started adjusting the way they defended in order to protect him from that hole in his game. Well, buddy, Chernak's out of the lineup. McDonough's no longer around. Maybe they just don't defend it the way that they used to do, and it just seems that all of a sudden all these point shots are killing them right now. Like, you even go back to Game 2 off of that face-off play where it goes D-to-D over to Marner. I didn't think that was a great goal either. And I think we can all agree on probably the reason that Tampa Bay finds himself in this hole right now, although outplaying the Toronto Maple Leafs, is Vasilevsky, for the first time in a very long time, is now looking normal. He's looking like a normal goalie, if anything, below average. And there was actually a comment in the media scrum where, R.A., I'll throw it over to you, and it has to do with Vasilevsky and him not being able to track these distant shots. So maybe there is some weight to what Derek Lalonde's saying, but then to fire back, Coop has a press conference, they bring it up, and he had some choice words for not only the situation, but also Lalonde.
Yeah, Biz. Vasi also said that he wanted some X-ray glasses to play the position lately, which, that's a kind of a funny thing for a goalie to say. I don't think it's indicative of his confidence, but, I mean, the fact that he even says that, I don't know.
Well,
he's struggling.
A couple things. It's either he's trolling Derek Lalonde back, or he's kind of taking a self-deprecating jab at himself, which I think he's got an incredible personality. I just don't know about Vasilevsky's post-game scrums and whether he's one to really throw jabs at himself or keep it light after a situation where now you're down 3-1 in a series. So pretty crazy situation. And Whit and Murls, I'll throw it over to you guys. Like, I almost feel bad for Derek Lalonde because it doesn't seem like he's the type of guy to want to like do things like that. But do you think he just succumbed to the pressure of being on national TV and wanting to say something of substance there?
I could totally see that. Because you get on there and it's just so different. Like the red light turns on. And I just remember my first time. You are definitely nervous. And then they go to you to ask you certain aspects of around the league, certain plays. And yeah, I mean, maybe you do want to sound or give a clip that's pretty noticeable and gets people talking and is actually like truly in-depth information. I still probably wouldn't have said it just because I feel like they're probably so close. If that is true, like I just probably wouldn't want to give away stuff that I won a Stanley Cup giving away secrets that guys have that I won Stanley Cups with. Does that make sense to you? All right, what are you laughing at?
No, I'm. It's funny because I texted Newsy earlier. I don't really want to directly quote him because I didn't ask permission for it. But basically, I think what he said was something that 9,000 analysts have already said about Vasi. But because he's Lalonde and he's put it in like very, very direct words, people are like, "Oh my God, he threw him under the bus." But like, these analysts like measure every goal, where it comes from, all this stuff. Like, he didn't really blow any secrets. He just kind of said,
but he did say what. The point shots, yeah, that's been brought up. But I was interested to say how he said that they changed certain coverage and defense-wise, like to try to help him with that. Like, that's almost like, oh, well, we had to do this. Like, it just, I don't know. It's just funny to hear a coach of a team, a former coach of a team talk like that. I'm happy he did because it is just interesting. And Biz, like, you talk about my jersey take, yeah, like overall an L big time, but my Leafs takes, I mean, I'm like a cross between like Stephen A. No, Stephen A. is great. I'm a cross between like Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, and a sprinkle of Steve Simmons with my Leaf stakes right now.
Jesus
I mean,
Christ.
that night was I got lippy and I got cocky when it was 4-1. And then a couple minutes into the third, I'm just like, I'm going. And next thing you know, 2. I go downstairs. I'm downstairs putting. 3. I got to go back upstairs to the coach. I'm like, and by the way, after every goal before the next one, they were dominating. Like, when they made it 4-3, it was just a matter of time till they were making it 4-4. Like, Tampa couldn't do a thing. And Vasilevsky, what's he giving up? 19 goals now and 4.
He's 1-3 Whit right now.
He's not just average. It's not dealing with an average Vasilevsky. He's bad.
4.33 goals against, 8.56 save percentage. The last 2 games, he's given up 9 goals on 64 shots. I mean, this is all-time bad shit from him. I mean, he's obviously a great goalie. His record speaks for itself, but I don't know if it's just the wear and tear of the last few years, but man, he's been rough sledding, man, and that's why they're down 3-1 right now, I think.
I mean, in the first 2 periods, like Hagel did an interview during the second intermission, basically being like, we got these guys on the ropes the way that they were playing. Their extended core, their depth. I thought Killorn, he looked like he got shot out of a cannon, and a big reason why they ended up taking that 4-1 lead. But what happens with the Leafs, and if you watch them during the regular season sometimes, it's like they'll be non-existent for 2 periods, but because of this core 4 and the skill that they have, all of a sudden things can change on a dime. And I know I was hard on Brody the game before, but on that second goal, you see him make that quick up play, and then that's what gets those top-end guys activated. That exchange between Marner, Nylander, and Matthews, it was a quick drop pass from Nylander to Marner, 1-touch pass over, and then a fucking beautiful wrister there by Matthews. Like, he doesn't miss in that slot area. And then once they scored that goal, all of a sudden you saw that life come out.
The pressure, nobody's talking enough about like the pressure in these playoffs. And once the team starts scoring, you do start looking at the clock, and you see it tonight too. There's been 2 closeout games. Neither team's been able to close it out. That pressure is just building on guys, and that's what happened. That Toronto scored, and then Tampa's like, oh no, we're going to blow this again, and they did.
And you talk about pressure. How about that core 4? And it really, in those situations over the course of the last 2 games when they were getting dominated, I said it on the broadcast, they couldn't break the puck out. They couldn't get any type of forecheck going or get any type of offensive zone sustained pressure, right? So all of a sudden, like, these guys look non-existent. If they end up losing the series, what's going to be the headlines? Marner and Matthews can't get it done. They took too much money. They're selfish. The JT signing was shit. Who are we getting rid of, Nylander or Marner? Well, those are the fucking guys who end up getting it done. And then they get the power play to make it 4-3. And that fucking sauce by Nylander, I know it was a UFO when that thing was hovering. It never touched the ice. Matthews on the hands team, that was about 18 inches off the ice. He tips it out of the air perfectly, and then that's when you had that feeling they were going to fucking come back in that game. And it comes down to those offensive zone draws and the fact that they when they can't get that sustained pressure in the offensive zone, it's always been those O-zone draws that's led them to success. They had the tying goal, the winning goal by O'Reilly snapping it back to Riley. And in this situation, Anson and I believe it was Panger on the broadcast pointed out. So late in that third period, in order to tie the game, they ended up sending out O'Reilly and Tavares on the offensive zone draw because as the first guy, Tavares going in, you can be way more aggressive about going into the faceoff. And if you end up getting pinched for it and you get kicked out, at least you still have a good centerman in O'Reilly. So a great coaching move by Keefe to do that. Well, fucking Tavares ends up snapping it back. It was a bobbled play, and who comes through in the clutch on the wall? Mitch Marner. It was a 2-on-1. He had two guys closing in on him. He wins that battle. It gets back to Riley. He walks the line. Beautiful net front screen by JT, and he fucking ties that game up. And there was not a doubt in my mind that they were winning that fucking hockey game after they tied that game up. Tampa Bay was shook. As I told you guys, Dubas was giving them the double barrel on the way out.
What do you mean there wasn't a doubt in your mind? You go to overtime. You have no idea. You have no idea. You can't say over the Bruins.
Okay, there might have been a doubt in your mind.
You go to OT, dude. There's a doubt in your mind. Let's be honest.
There might have been a doubt in your mind, but there wasn't a doubt in my mind. And what do? They fucking pulled a rabbit out of their ass and win the game. Why are you rolling your eyes?
Any single hockey fan in the world whose team is in the Stanley Cup playoffs, when they go to overtime, has a slight doubt in their mind.
Are you in my brain?
Yeah, I'm right in your brain. I've always been there since I met you two.
Good luck with that.
Leafs fans are different.
All right,
They're different.
all right.
Yeah.
Is there doubt in your mind any overtime game
He doesn't even stay for overtime. What are you asking that guy for? He doesn't even stay for overtime. He didn't even fucking. He went to the fucking game.
He didn't even know who scored.
No,
he didn't even know who scored the goddamn game-winning goal.
I honestly know. I was getting the shit set up. I had to leave the game at 9:30. I didn't want to be late and fuck everything up. And I was watching it. I just didn't see the whole play before that precipitated. But I did see that the Bruins fucked it up royally. I had the bad play and two pizzas. Whoever did it, I just didn't catch the numbers. They fucked it up.
You know what? Biz was right. No doubt in his mind. Biz right now and the Toronto Maple Leafs are just hovering above the 20 years of mediocrity and shit. You're just
19.
above it. There's like a white light
years.
and everything's coming up roses. All I'm saying is the hardest one to get is that fourth one. And they're going against champions. And I felt as though Leafs Nation is like, we won the series. Like that. You guys tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, guess what, dickhead?
We did it.
There's no doubt in my mind they're going to win in 5 at home. How about that? Is that good enough for you, Whit? Or you want to go back to the OT winner, Kerfoot, a guy who's been getting a lot of criticism. Yeah, a lot of criticism from Leafs Nations, along with Morgan Riley during the regular season. So they pull a rabbit out of their ass in Tampa. They get both wins down there. They had no business doing, and it's all because of the core four getting activated. And then more drama ensues now that Bunting's off of suspension. They announced Keefe that they're not going to put him in the lineup. Now,
Were you surprised? Because I wasn't.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised.
I had no doubt he wasn't going back in, actually.
Not one little bit of doubt for
even anything. Because Nyes is that good. He's that much better than him.
Nyes, he wouldn't be taking Nyes out of the lineup.
Hey.
Whoa. I want to start. If I can rebuttal on the Bunting.
I think you're being paid by the Leafs, so go ahead.
49 points this regular season. And I know it's not the regular season. 23 goals. Yeah, I think a guy who's been resting the last 3 games and probably has his legs and he's ready to go because he's been in the gym. And you know what it's like when you get the 3 games off where you don't have those bumps and bruises that the other guys have from battling along the walls. What has been few of their biggest problems? Maybe not winning enough battles specifically on the forecheck. What does he do well? That problem breaking out of their own end. He's really good on the half walls as well. It's not just the goals and the offense that he brings. It's the other intangibles on top of getting under other opponents' skin, like we saw in Game 2 by obviously going over the line. So am I shocked to see a 23-goal scorer who's fresh and ready to go coming off suspension, who, remind you, he did the Leafs a favor by taking Chernak out of the lineup. Like, let's not kid ourselves here. I know you laugh. I'm not saying it was. Hey, I'm not saying it was clean, and I'm not being a dirtbag because obviously I feel bad that Chernak's out of the lineup. But don't tell me that hasn't been a huge hole for the Tampa Bay Lightning as far as boxing guys out in the net front.
Sounds like you have inside info that there was a lot of intent to injure there and that it was all on purpose. That's what it sounds like. And my other thing to you in the lineup thing, you've been around. You played long enough. Murls, how many times were you like, if we win and I'm sitting out, I'm not going back in?
They never change a winning lineup. Nowhere. You have to be a really special player to come back in after winning on it. Look at the Bruins. Your Bruins shouldn't have done it.
I think there would be plenty. Oh, you were going to set out Bergeron?
Yeah, hey, winning lineup.
Yeah, health bomb Bergeron. Yeah, that's worse than fucking maybe sitting him out game 82 if you wanted to. So I will say I think there's plenty of examples out there of guys being inserted into the lineup where coaches aren't superstitious like that. They more just make the intelligent move of putting the best players possible on the ice. You don't plan for now. You plan for the future of where you want to be.
This is a little bit of tension. So maybe you and Leafs Nation are now butting heads as to should Bunting be in around. If they lose, now it's a big story.
No, because if you would have let me finish what the fuck I was talking about, I would have said. But
you were talking, so I thought you were done.
Like a classy guy, Bunting got the information. He says, obviously I want to be in the lineup, but my job's not to be poopy pants. My job's to be a supportive teammate and support the guys who get the nod and are in the lineup. And I'll be waiting for my number to be called, which will be Game 1 of the second round against the Boston Bruins if they don't blow it. And it's nice to see that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win this thing in 5 games and get some much-needed rest over the weekend in order to go into that series. I'm not getting too ahead of myself, but I'm very confident they're going to close that thing out at home, learning from their experience of the past and not being able to button things up in closing games. So, great job all around. I get it. Don't change a winning lineup. They went that route. I'm going to act exactly like Bunting and say, hey, let's get the job done. I'm not going to be poopy pants. I don't care to be right. I just care to win the fucking hockey game. Anything else on Tampa Bay, boys?
Guys, real quick, before we move on from Toronto, I think Ryan O'Reilly one has been absolutely incredible, but I saw this video that's going viral around the internet that he changes his gloves during a game every 5 to 10 minutes. Have you guys ever seen a player change his equipment that often? Is that common?
Ray Bourque had 6 pairs for every period. My brother was a trainer there, and he would have to, that was his job, was to change them that much. It was insane. He would do 2 shifts, I think, and then have to have them dry.
I was a pigeon, so they wouldn't give me more than 1 pair, and they tried to keep the budget down in Arizona. But usually the skill guys, and where you can attest to this, it's nice because like usually at the TV timeouts, the trainer comes over and he gives you those nice toasty mitts. And you have the brand new warm gloves, and they're dry, and then your stick is sticking perfectly to your glove. Where you can
feels a little lighter somehow.
Oh, it just feels
stronger.
Like I mean, for me, I had holes in my palms before they give me new gloves.
I can tell you a quick story about that. It happened to me my second NHL game, and I was in overtime, and I was leaking, and I was too afraid to ask for the second pair, especially in Pittsburgh at that time. There wasn't money for anything. I think they were Mario's old gloves I had to use, and I went to shoot in overtime, and my hand slipped. And I remember saying that to somebody, and they're like, it's the NHL, dude. You can have 2 pairs. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, I was just so dumb and naive. But
and then McKinnon stole your number.
By the way, in Murls' mind, had he asked for the second pair, he scores there. He stays up the rest of the year. He ends up signing a 4-year deal. That's how it always. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't be here. You know, I'd be on an island somewhere, gambling on these games and playing crap. So
that's
everything
what I
works
say.
out for a reason.
That's what when people say, do you regret boozing that entire time you were in the NHL and basically your career dwindling and you being pigeon tossed? And I say, yeah, I think about sometimes how I could have extended it, but then again, I wouldn't have been an idiot online tweeting and getting drunk and I guess talking about some of the tomfoolery that went on in those days on the podcast, and we wouldn't be able to sit here and stroke off the Leafs. So all is good in Leafland. Looking forward to that Game 5.
I think
it's
we
moved
on from the Leafs, guys, didn't we? Didn't that already end when we went to Colorado?
Did you watch the game? Did you have anything to chime in with? Is there any nuggets you want to drop, RA?
I have a nugget. It wasn't from the game. It was someone's father or uncle or whatever watching the game. It was I think it was a TikTok, and they just taped him saying "fuck, shit, go" like every fucking 2 seconds. He was drinking a Timmy Hortons, and they ended up winning the game. It's in the outline if you didn't see it. It's so fucking funny.
I'll describe it better. So there was a 55-year-old father wearing a Leafs jersey, Tim Hortons cup, and the kids videoing him the entire time. And like most Leafs fans, they've been through so much pain, the negativity throughout the game and how shit they were playing through the first 40 minutes. So you just have fucking him motherfucking every single player, and then the progression of them starting to come back, and then him turning into the biggest Leafs jock sniffer, and then pumping everybody's tires by the end of the video. And then this year's the year to go on where they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
I thought we were going to talk about the guy. Was that the guy screaming? He was screaming behind the glass after they won. He was the basic person in my mind when I think they won the series. Like, I think this guy, I don't know if this guy knows.
On breakfast television in Toronto.
That was a different guy, Whit. That was a different guy.
He reminded me of the girl when Trump got elected that was like, nah. He was the Leafs version of that guy. And I was like, I think he thinks it's 3 out of 5 back in the day. But some amazing reactions. I didn't see that TikTok. I got to check that one out. I mean, Biz, you described the game. It's just my thought I will be shocked if the Leafs lose this series. Even being the Leafs, I'll be shocked. But lose the next one, you're going back to Tampa, and then lose that one, and then they're losing. If this goes to 7, the Leafs are losing. We know that. So you got to close them out at home. The Bruins they're getting on a plane to Florida tomorrow now. That's a pain in the ass. Guys need rest. You better get it done Thursday.
And I can't be a hypocrite because, RA, I gave it to you a little bit about pulling Allmark for Swayman. I was ready to pull the plug on Samsonov because I wasn't crazy about some of the goals. But, hey, when the chips are on the table, specifically in that third period in overtime, he held the fort and didn't really allow much by him and really did a good job. So I'm actually excited they kept him in. I said they should go to Wall. That was my bad. So I'm going to eat that one, and we can move on.
Before we continue, guys, I'm here to talk to you about Pink Whitney. And no matter where you are, Sweden, where Murls is, where the sun's already up, or Boston, where the weather's finally turned, nothing beats being outside, being on the golf course, being at the beach. That's coming soon. Sipping on some Pink Whitney. Watching a playoff game, pouring a nice cold Pink Whitney over ice, maybe throwing a little soda water in there. That's what it's all about come springtime. I was just playing golf the past 2 days. We had Pink Whitney flowing. We had the nips going for the birdies. That's what it's all about. The birdie juice, Pink Whitney. And we appreciate you guys drinking it and enjoying it just like we do here on this podcast. So shout out to Pink Whitney and go get some today.
Okay, boys. We got to go LA, Edmonton. The hockey world, one small step closer to the greatest player on the planet right now, getting to the grandest stage. It's a long way to go to the Stanley Cup. I think everybody wants to see McDavid in the Cup. Well, they beat LA 6-3, took a 3-2 series lead. McDavid, 2 assists. I mean, him and Leon Biz, I want to ask, like, how often would you go to those guys on the same line? Just when you're desperate, or like if you want to build the lead? If you're coaching those guys, why wouldn't you play them like more often together?
I ain't the Edmonton guy. We're going to throw this over to Whit. You know what I'm going to say
you're
about?
trying to throw that to him after he could just talk about the Leafs that long.
That was disgraceful.
My team had just as big of a win.
I was like, that black guy gif pointing his head.
Wait, I'm just going to say this as I hand it over. McDavid and Draisaitl are the biggest dynamic duo since Pippen and Jordan. If they win a
we're
Stanley
not staying
Cup,
in hockey? I mean, Yager and Lemieux, maybe?
If they win a Stanley Cup, Draisaitl and McDavid are the greatest dynamic duo in sports since Pippen and Jordan.
Bigger than Shaq and Kobe?
If they win a Stanley Cup, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are the best dynamic duo in sports since Pippen and Jordan. You guys want me to say it one more fucking time?
None of those other 4 threw each other under the bus. Like,
R.A., you said McDavid. We've talked about McDavid. You really cannot say enough. There's only so much to be said. You have to see it to believe it. But, and there's a big but here. Right now, the greatest player on the planet is Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, yeah.
This guy is so unbelievable. I think he's now second all-time points per game in the playoffs. He is so dominant that he gets the puck in the defensive zone, he skates it out. Every time. Doesn't matter. Then he gets it in the offensive zone at times, and guys bounce off him. Then he has this paddle, this long ass, as Biz calls him, the right winger in bubble hockey with the extra long stick, and he fires backhand missile passes right on guys' tape. He protects the puck. He's just, the fact they have him and Connor is just, they are a great hockey team. And what did I say, guys? I said, you go back to Skinner. You go back to Skinner. And I was scared. The second, they come out flying. And he, all of a sudden it's 3-2. Kempe, too. Kempe. If the Oilers somehow lose this series, it'll be Kempe who kills them in Game 7. That guy, I didn't even realize, by the way, so much for being a hockey analyst. He had 41 goals this year. I would have guessed he had like 33. 41. And then in the playoffs, he comes alive as well. But the Oilers, the only thing I didn't understand prior to the game was they were minus 230. Kings are plus 180. I'm like, this is so... And all series, they have been big favorites at home. Vegas loves the Oilers. But I almost was more confident because the line was so ridiculous. Biz, as a non-gambler, do you know what I mean by that?
I was on game notes, and I said I knew that they were going to win by 2. I said the Oilers were going to win 5-3.
Yeah, he said 5-3. Almost hit it right on.
I had a feeling in my gut, and it just, after that 3-0 blown lead by the LA Kings, I just feel like the series has completely shifted into Edmonton's favor, specifically because LA is unable to stay disciplined against them, and like the regular season, And sometimes in playoffs, you're playing against teams who have better penalty kills. Most of the teams in playoffs have better special teams, but nothing is slowing down this Edmonton power play. I describe the Leafs offense as like a beautiful symphony, like an orchestra, a beautiful ballet. It's unworldly right now.
It's like maybe it's like a ballet that has like 6 people there and they meet once a week. That's the Leafs offense compared to the Oilers is like the Russian ballet. Was that the good ballet?
The
Russian
Nutcracker.
Thinking
of the Nutcracker.
Nutcracker. Christmas time. Everyone loves going to see that. Great call. I will be an honest fan. That was like the worst game I've ever seen the Kings play. They are horrible. Like, you got to give Edmonton credit. They came up buzzing. LA looked horrific. Like, that'll be game 6. You'll see a completely different team. But yeah, when Leon is playing like this, and Connor, I think, has 8 or 9 points in 5 games, maybe 8. Like, people are like, oh, he hasn't taken over a game. It's like, he has 8 points. I mean, and Leon is just at another level. It's all about like those 2 guys, but you're never going to win, and that's been the complaint. They're a 2-team guy without the depth scoring, and people were kind of calling out Kane and Hyman and Nuge, and these guys, now they're going. And Kane's playing injured. He's battling something lower body, I think. He was like flexing the knee one game, but he starts it off with that snipe, just a sick shot, top right power play. LA, once again, like their power play is just standing there. I mean, their PK. And then Hyman, who the guy's been so good since he came to Edmonton.
Wow, unreal.
He's the throat god.
He's
fucking scored a goal off his Adam's apple.
And he gets a puck, a Bouchard slap shot off the chin, and it goes in.
You mean his throat?
Like, that's how this guy plays. Now, granted, he was standing there and got hit with a slap shot, and Bouchard whiffed on it, didn't get tipped. If Bouchard got that thing full can, it somehow hit him, he's probably dead. He has a rocket. So everything is coming together. I mean, that was the most complete game they've played. It looks like they'll get Vegas next round, but I am not at all as confident as Biz is with the Leafs that the Oilers get this done next game. I mean, I said 7. I think LA gets the win. I hope not, but Edmonton's coming. They're coming, boys.
Much like we're going to pump Don Sweeney's tires later, Murls, is you just have to look at not only the trades but the free agency signings. Like even in that game 4, when Jack Campbell comes in and saves the day, he was the first player signed in free agency. You talked about Hyman and them going to get him. The deadline deal for Ekholm. They've now surrounded all these players with competent guys who, when they need a play and they need it most, they can rely on guys other than Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, despite what they're fucking doing right now.
That they needed that forever. They needed to stay at home defensive defenseman that they could rely on. Nurse is not that guy. Ekholm is that guy. He takes care of. He makes up for all the mistakes. They can run and gun all they want. He takes care of that, and that was the biggest signing and the biggest difference from this year's team and last year's team.
And that Bouchard too, Whit. Holy fuck!
What's up,
Bouchard?
Oh yeah, the guy's awesome. He's and that's a lot to do with Ekholm. But also, I think the confidence of Barry leaving and him taking over the number 1 PP, like you feel better. I mean, he's an offensive guy. He's a high pick. Like to now be snapping it around on that power play, you're getting your one-timers. It just for me as a player, when I was on, I loved when my first shift was a power play. You get time with the puck, you get confidence, and then everything kind of flows into the rest of your game, and that's what's happened with Bouchard. My buddy Toots Halfwall, he texted me a video from the game. We have to get back to Edmonton. I mean, you remember that, guys. That atmosphere. McDavid scored 50 seconds into Game 3, Western Conference Finals. Wow. But he sent me the video of the rink the other night. And right as the Oilers are coming out, right before they leave the dressing room, on the huge big screen, just a state-of-the-art hell of an arena, the Oilers locker room door opens and Enter Sandman starts. And everyone knows Mariano Rivera for the New York Yankees. And the boys start coming out, and this place was going bonkers. I had a full-on chubby. I was sitting there watching a video. My wife would have thought I was on some bad site, but no, I was just watching the Oilers walking out to the arena in Game 5. First round, not to mention. So I can't wait to get back. And if people do want to see greatness or basically a lifelong dream come true as a Spittin Chiclets listener, give me Leafs Oilers in the Cup final.
Oh,
and Biz, I don't know if we'd be friends after.
That would be the greatest thing that ever happened to me, to see you two going head to head, the two super fans.
I would wear a jersey every single game.
the best American player versus the best Canadian player.
You'd be wearing a Dusty jersey. Well,
I get Brian Oilers thong.
Yeah, for your 2-minute minor session in the mornings, you'd be going doggy style, looking at McDavid's name bar.
because they score on the PP and I'm out of the box.
Oh, fuck. Busting your nut while looking at a McDavid name bar. hey, you're
As you'd be in another hotel just getting bent over and thumped yourself by Austin.
Hey, you're just holding the fighting strap while giving it to Bree with the Draisaitl name bar in your face.
Oh shit!
Oh baby, we got Pablo.
Murls, let me ask you: do you think the Kings are toast?
I think they were done. That didn't look good last night. I've been proud of the Kings. I like them. I love Kempe. I love little Arvidsson, this little Swede. He's great. But I think they're done now. That was just a dominating performance. Now they're getting the rest. So now Connor and Dreiss can play even more minutes next game. It's 3-4 days off.
So last year it was LA who was up 3-2, and then Edmonton did the Mongolian reversal. This year it's Edmonton 3-2, going back to LA. You know Will Ferrell's going to have the war paint on. So
he's got to go back to the white on white he had.
He's got to go to the checkerboard face. He's got to go to checkerboard face, not the 50-50 split. So it's definitely going to be an interesting Game 6, but as I've said, the biggest win for me probably this postseason so far until the Leafs close out in 5 is you admitting how big of an idiot you were not being a little bit fearful of the LA Kings and coming off of that stance.
How many times are we going to go over this?
What do you mean? I'm just saying. I just quickly mentioned it on the way up.
You said I should be very scared. You said very scared. I go, I'm not scared of anyone. Do I know LA is a good team? Like, I think we're going to do this. We'll just do it up till free agency. I'll go over what I said.
Okay.
I'm not scared of anyone. I knew they were a good team. I'm not scared of anyone.
All right, what do you got for us?
Hold up. Last thing because those two series, whatever, we're moving on. The fact we got to see 2-3 goal comebacks from both teams, bang, like night after night, that just shows you're never out of these games. It's wild.
And why I think it's so magical, it's almost like that 19-year reversal of when in the last 5 minutes of that playoff game, in, 2013 against the Boston Bruins, when Boston was down 4-1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs and they came storming back. I feel like that's their curse of the Bambino type thing, where this 4-1 swing back the other way to beat the Lightning is the reversal of that as well. So that's why I just got this positive juju and these positive thoughts for the boys in blue moving forward.
I never heard that story before, Biz. Why don't you tell me?
Which one? The 4-1 comeback lead?
4-1, 3-1. Hey, I mean, we got to talk about Korpisalo, too. We were stroking him off, rightfully so, but he's kind of fallen off quite a bit. He got pulled the other night. They had to put in a Copley, however you want to say his name. I don't know if he just kind of ran out of steam or what. Also, the Edmonton power play, 57.1%. The Jets, second place Jets are 41.7%. That's just insane. I mean, anything for over 50% of a power play is fucking absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, they're penalty killing 72.2%. Not as good, but I don't know. Do you think penalty killing? If your power play is that good, Biz, can it offset shitty penalty killing in the long run?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Also, the Oilers, Biz, have 3 of the top 5 guys in points right now. Leon's got 10. Bouchard, we already talked about him, 8 points. He's been unreal. Connor McDavid got 8 points as well. So, I don't know. It feels like they're doing a lot better 5-on-5 than people thought going into the series, Biz. Before we go any farther, I want to talk to you about The Score. Hello, Canada. This episode is brought to you by The Score Bet Sportsbook and Casino. The Score Bet is the best sportsbook for the hockey obsessed. With a wide variety of markets and daily specials from us here at Spittin Chiclets, it's got you covered for everything on the ice. So if you're in Ontario only, download the Score Bet app and create an account today. You can build and follow your bets directly from the Score Sports app for the best possible experience. With the playoff push coming up, you don't want to miss anything. And the Score Bet also has you covered for all your other favorite sports and players. Plus, there's tons of iCasino games any day, anytime. That's the Score Bet. Download today and see how the best sports app, period, does sports betting. Please play responsibly. 19 plus, Ontario only. Gambling problem? Call Connex Ontario at 1-866-531-2600. Yeah, we only really kind of glossed over the Bees, Florida. It was such a stunning ending to that game. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, like I said, he carried this team to the playoffs. He's been getting it done, got the game winner tonight. Even before that, man, I thought the Bruins had kind of crossed the Rubicon. I thought they were going to be all set with this series. But then Bobrovsky comes back in, and he played his ass off tonight. I think he had like 42-something shots on him. Unbelievable game. And I don't know, Biz. I think we got a series now. Do you think Florida's going to make a 7-game series out of this or what? It's a whole new thing now.
Well, always difficult when a centerman of the magnitude of Bergeron comes back in the lineup. He has that huge tying power play goal. Obviously helps him off in the faceoff circle. I think we saw it with Stone. Is sometimes when you're out for a little bit, and he was obviously out longer, takes you one game to get your legs back underneath you, and everybody readjusted to their whoever they're playing with on their wings. I would imagine that they go down to Sunrise and you see a lot better Boston team. It comes back though. I mean, you talk about the catastrophic turnovers that they had in game 2 at home. And then going back to this one, even that first goal, Bertuzzi, I didn't mind the play. He throws it out front where I think that he thought McAvoy as that net front defenseman was going to activate. And sometimes he goes the other way. I think he was expecting the bump behind the net. That turnover ended up being costly. But, when they finally ended up tying up that game, like Taylor Hall, he's playing like a man possessed right now, and he obviously had some time off with his injury. He looks fresh as hell. He's skating the same way he did when he won the Hart. And right now he's been the best forward for this Boston Bruins team. And all of a sudden you're seeing these older guys who, maybe struggled a little bit offensively compared to the past, like guys like Tyler Seguin. Well, Taylor Hall has taken the bull by the horns and now has elevated this Boston Bruins team. As far as the OT goal, another catastrophic turnover. It's just a misread. I don't know what the communication was. I don't know why Ullmark, considering he was on his forehand, just doesn't rifle that puck around. It goes back to the Winnipeg game. Remember when I said Sandberg? It's like you're in overtime, right? Play a more simplistic style of game, especially on your breakouts, where he could have just went up the wall to I'm drawing a blank here, Kyle Connor. Whereas if he just throws that around a wall instead of trying to make a cute play, well, it doesn't get turned over and end up in the back of your net. So I would imagine the Bees regroup, though, and they're going to be fine, just considering that they have a lot of guys in that lineup going and buzzing right now, and their depth at a certain point, it just has to take over.
The whole play began, McAvoy made an unreal play going down low, and he went around the net, and he almost created a grade A scoring chance, but then he kind of stayed down there. And, usually you kind of maybe want a guy to back up, especially overtime. Well, Marchand gets it in the corner. He thinks Bergeron's still backing up and taking McAvoy's place, and he throws it to what would be his forehand. And he had changed, and Zacha had hopped on the ice, which is his backhand, being a lefty. It gets by him. And then when you go down and you have that miscommunication, like there's so many different sayings you can have with a goalie and a defenseman. It's strong side, weak side, play it, leave it, little things. I don't know what was being said to him, but yeah, like you said, Biz, it's on your forehand. Rip that thing around the glass. At worst case, it hits a guy in Florida on the shoulder, and you can kind of reset, get in your defensive zone structure, and figure it out. But he just throws a weak backhand, goes in front. And Tkachuk, once you saw it was him, he just waits it out perfectly. Grzelcyk slid back, almost actually saved it with his face.
Boys, I actually have some audio of Paul Maurice talking about Matthew Tkachuk. Do you guys want to go to that right now?
You mentioned Matthew Tkachuk. Just what can you say from your vantage point of what you saw as he was able to find the back of the net?
That guy is and then you put a long string of profanity, gamer. Is he not a gamer? Like, I had to tell you how many times he did that in Calgary to us in Winnipeg. Drive me crazy how he could just out of nowhere pull a puck. So I don't know, there's 700 guys in the league, 640 of them jam that thing as fast as they can at the net and lose it, and he pulls it across. Right? He's just a gamer.
But the celebration by Tkachuk just showed that these guys believe they're alive. I I still think the Bruins, beating them 3 in a row would be the most shocking thing I've ever seen. So I think they'll be able to get this done. But just the fact that you got injuries, you got guys battling, you got to get on the flight to Florida, you got to go back, play another game that's going to be the hardest game to win, we've already said, and a huge wasted opportunity. Because to get back in the game because of Halsey, and shout out Game 4, he had 2-2. He was flying that game too. And Ferraro on the broadcast was just talking about confidence, and he actually made a good point. He goes, it's amazing to think that these athletes, the best in the world at what they do, can still lose their confidence, but you do. And when you get some feels, and it can be one nice rush, it can be one nice pass, and things start clicking again. And so, yeah, luckily Halsey's playing this way, and he's carried them. So they're going to go down to Florida. I think they get it done there. And if they don't, that's just the panic of a Game 7. It's like anything can happen. There's worry, there's doubt, and to have it that close to be able to finish off with Marchand with the puck on his stick. He's 2 away now from tying Cam Neely as the all-time playoff goal-scoring leader for the Bruins. I just thought he would bury that, and now Bobrovsky's feeling it. You've seen him upset teams before, and they finally put him back in, and this was the game. And what did he finish up with? 45 saves?
Yeah, it was something 48 to 20 shots, I want to say, roughly. I have no idea, but we had fights on today, and he said a great line that Taylor Hall said. He's like, this is going to be my best chance ever, like my only chance maybe ever to win the Stanley Cup, and that's not lost on me. Yeah. And you can see he's playing like that. Like, he knows he never had a chance before, and he might never get another one. He's all in on this series. He's been their best player. Well, I guess Marshy's been pretty good too, but they're good. And I know I made fun of like the Bertuzzi pass on a tweet that he got his assist bonus or whatever, his sit prop, but that's what Boston does. They activate those D. That's why they are so good. Monty wants those D involved. They want those risky passes into the middle, and sometimes it ends up in your own net. But that's how they play, and they'll be fine. Any other takeaways from being live in action in the Garden?
I mean, the place was buzzing. It had the electricity that you expect at a playoff game. But, I mean, this team sort of just rope-a-doped them, Biz. I mean, like, look at it. Bobrovsky stopped 44 out of 47 shots. Going into the game, Florida's power play was only 4.8%, which is terrible. And they won the game, man. It's like they just take the punches and they counter-punch and they beat them, man. I don't know. I'm not, like, worried, but I'm a little like leery. I don't know if they go down and lose this next game. Anything could happen in a Game 7, and if their power play is that bad, and what's his name, Lyon in the first few games wasn't great, and they're still this close in the series. I don't know, man. This could get hairy. I don't like it, but we got to see what happens. That's why they play the games. The theme of the whole playoffs has been the road teams. The road teams had a big winning streak. I don't know the overall record, but tonight 2 more road teams are going to get it done, and it's wild. It's changed from our day when we were going on the road and we were out drinking and not getting good sleep. So now being on the road's an advantage. You're getting the proper rest. You're not going out, running out and getting groceries. You don't have the dog barking, waking you up. You're out there. You're completely focused with the team, and I think you're seeing that, especially in this playoffs. Before we go any further, here's a word from our friends at Omega Accounting Solutions. Attention small business owners with 5 to 500 employees. You are a responsible business owner who continued to pay taxes and employ staff during the pandemic. Omega Accounting Solutions is a small business champion helping you and your business get back the money you deserve through the CARES Act. Recover the payroll taxes you overpaid as a refund of up to $26,000 per employee, even if you got the PPP loan. Learn if you are a good candidate in less than 10 minutes with a free consultation. Omega was recently named the #1 best ERC company for getting your ERC funds by Merchant Maverick, a small business comparison and review site. There's still time to find out if you qualify and file your claim. Again, that's up to $26,000 per employee. Call 855-505-DAVE or visit OmegaTaxCredits.com/Barstool Sports now. Boys, it looks like Edmonton is probably going to move on. They're going to play the winner of Winnipeg, Vegas. Vegas has a 3-1 lead. Murls, I'll go to you on this one first. Does Winnipeg have the capability to come back? Hellebuyck hasn't looked good at all, man. He's had a couple of rough games. They're obviously missing a couple guys. What do you think's going to happen here, man? Yeah, I denounced my Jets fandom. They just have not looked like the team I thought they could be. Scheifele's already out for Game 5. Morrissey's out. That's when I gave up on them. Ehlers, I don't know how you say it. I'm terrible with names, even though his dad was my coach, fun fact, the Swiss B League. They're done. Vegas is going to win tomorrow night.
No question in my mind, Vegas, and we're still alive for the Chiclets Vegas finals trip, baby.
I know that's all you could think about. Those Jets injuries, just too much to overcome. And I never would have guessed they didn't get one game at home. I mean, you talk about crowds, like the whiteout, it's special. They got the outside drinking areas. It's just a wild scene. It looks like I've never been to a playoff game there, but they had nothing. Vegas has looked really good, actually. The hard thing for me is this series is definitely the one I've seen the least amount of, and apparently the ratings are horrific too. Biz, you were saying probably because there's not really a superstar on either team.
Well, you have two Western teams, one of which Canadian with no superstars. Like I get, like the late games sometimes draw away from that, the analytic numbers on viewership, but Winnipeg is probably the smallest of all the Canadian markets. And the fact they don't really have a jump-out superstar is probably affecting the numbers. But overall, though, ever since Game 1, it's been all Vegas. They got the cobwebs out. Stone got his legs underneath him. He's been a fucking beast. Jack Eichel's been having his first playoff parade. And then just like guys coming through in the clutch. You saw Amadio score the game winner, first ever playoff goal for him. Howden has a monster game. The biggest thing for me, especially with Morrissey out of the lineup right now, and I know Pionk's done a great job, is, and it could be more of a 5-on-5 defensive issue, is the way that they give up the blue line. Like you even saw on that Howden goal as he comes in, like he ends up burying it into the defenseman as he winds up and shoots it. But by the time he shoots it, that defenseman backed into basically the hash marks. So you're not only giving up these high quality scoring chances by backing in, but you're also screening your goalie, right? Because you're so close to the net and then you're trying to go down and get the block. But since you've already given up the line, and sometimes people just want to bitch at the defenseman about not gapping up properly, but a lot of the time it has to do with your setup in the offensive zone and maybe not having a responsible enough F3 and then not having that back pressure on the way back so that defenseman can maintain his gap where he has that confidence where, yeah, maybe he does get burned, but he slows that forward down enough, like Howden coming down in that situation where if he rubs him out even a little bit, that forwards can swoop underneath them and then grab the puck and then get it back going the other way. So noticed it on the Chandler Stevenson goal that got things going in Game 3 as well in Winnipeg. But to allude to what you guys said, it sucks that they couldn't take advantage of that home ice. It just overall the bottom six for me, the forecheck and the way that Vegas's D have finally become activated and gotten more involved. Example, Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo. That's why they've taken over the series. They look like the far superior team, and every time when they are in the defensive zone and they do give up a high-quality scoring chance, Vegas, who's there to get the block? The two block leaders the entire NHL season, Alec Martinez and McNabb, and you guys don't think that they have a winning pedigree coming from LA? So they knew what they were doing by acquiring those guys. A great compliment to the offensive side of the D on the right side of Pietrangelo and Theodore. And then you just got to look to the goaltending carousel that ended up working out perfectly for him because Brossoit has looked stellar. He's battled his dick off to come back from injury and get back to playing shape, and he's kicking them fucking just as good as goaltending as they've ever had. And that's even going back to Flower when they made their run.
I'm happy for Eichel. You know, it was like pretty obvious to everyone that's watched him. You know, it's just a tough couple of years. Like, he's just been through so much, and Buffalo fans hate him, whatever. He finally gets to experience the playoffs. And the first game, he was bad, had a bad game. You know, it's a new game, it's different, and he's been great since. And in Game 4, he had no points, but he was the best player on the ice. He drew 2 penalties, and I think he's talking about finally realizing what it's like. He appreciates being there, and they have way more depth. I mean, you kind of talked about they're getting contributions from everyone, where Winnipeg loses a couple top guys and they're nowhere to be seen, the rest of the team. And I picked Vegas. I said the only chance Winnipeg had was Hellebuck just standing on his head, and he's been pretty average too, like Vasilevsky. You know what I mean? Unless he was going to steal games, I didn't see them competing.
If I'm a betting man, they go back to Vegas and close things out. But the two teams that have had 3-1 leads have been unable to seal the deal at home. Carolina, who I want to say had at least 8 or 9 straight playoff home wins, and then Boston, who was this unbelievable clutch team, especially at home. When's the first time they lost a game in regulation at home all season? It looked like, I think it was like the halfway mark. So those two teams unable to do it. We got two more teams going to game 5 up 3-1 with the ability to close it at home. But like I said, if I'm a betting man, but given the stats of teams that have been able to come back from 3-1 deficits, Bonus doesn't want to hear anything. His post-game conference, he says, I don't give a fuck about what stat you're going to read me about teams being down 3-1. We still got a dog in the fight. We'll be ready to go. So maybe Bonus, like he did at the beginning of the season when it seemed like the wheels were falling off with that organization, leadership in the dressing room issues, he was able to galvanize the group and then come in the clutch and make playoffs. So we'll see what they got cooking in Game 5.
I think we're going to talk about Laurent Brassard on Vegas Biz. 3-1, 275 goals against, 902 save percentage. This was a guy who's basically been a journeyman. He was waived earlier in the year. And he's out playing fucking Connor Hellebuyck right now on the verge of moving on to the second round. Great story. And also, how about this tattoo parlor out in Vegas? They're basically giving out free tattoos if they're Vegas-style tattoos. If you want to show up and get a freebie.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, guys, actually. So the Vegas Golden Knights are actually like paying this company to come sit outside the arena. You know how like right before you walk into T-Mobile Arena, there's kind of that big open area right in front of the arena? Well, they're just sitting outside tattooing people. If it's Vegas Golden Knights themed, they give it to you for free. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Hey, we got our Vegas insider, Miggs, out there for game notes. We might have to send him over there to get a tattoo for us. See how it works.
He could get one right on his head.
Yeah.
Do they do Devils mascot tattoos? I might have to fly out there and get a free one the way that the Devils are playing right now. Holy
cow.
Hey.
Wow.
Pasha might end up owning some people on here and on the internet.
Yeah, I'm scared. I am nervous. This is not good. I'm doing all I can do. Well, it's actually today now, but I'm doing drastic measures today. I'll be going down to Mika's Burger Shop, get his hamburger. Last year when I ate one, I turned around their 3-1 series deficit, and they end up winning in 7 games. So I'm going to get him going because he's been invisible all playoffs.
What's going on there?
I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me if I go down there. They'll give me the inside scoop. I don't know.
I said on Game Notes Daily, like 0 adjustments from the Rangers. I remember 2011 Stanley Cup final, right? Like the Bruins were completely worked over, embarrassed in Vancouver, and they come home and it's the exact opposite. I know that it was opposite in the fact that the Rangers were on the road. I don't know if I've ever seen like a series switch like it has. What the hell happened? Either, I think it's probably a little of both. The Devils started playing their game. We talked about the Hughes press conference about just saying we got whacked. They knew they got whacked. They weren't ready to go in either game, and they changed up everything defensively. Well, the biggest thing they changed up was putting in Schmid, and he's been sick. Monster guy. Pasha talked about how apparently he's just, I think his dad was a kung fu master or something like that. I think that he's very cool, calm, and collected, and that's what they talk about. So that was the biggest difference. And then with him, they obviously just figured out the defensive zone and the neutral zone. They just clogged it up. That's what they do. They're good 5-on-5. And Jack Hughes looks phenomenal. And the Rangers, they stopped skating. Murls, we were texting during the game. They couldn't even complete a pass.
Every pass was
like on the wall, hit a stick, back to the middle. They looked so out of sync that to be at home and perform like that, I gotta think the Devils are the favorites in that series now. What's the line in Vegas on the sports book?
It's still like pretty even money for the series. It's the power play all of a sudden disappeared. It looks terrible.
Well, I would say it's all about adjustments though, and you got to give credit to Lindy Ruff and his staff.
Ruffles.
Where the first couple games they weren't really adjusting to the Kreider and net front. And he was just getting these easy tap-ins. I mean, what's he got? 4 power play goals on the series? Rangers have gone 0 for 8 on the power play.
No,
my God.
Jesus.
I got to listen to this fucking...
Jesus Christ.
Posh, I will say,
wow,
you guys are playing some great hockey. I was just talking about your adjustments on the PK. Rangers 0 for 8 right now since Schmid's been in. 5-on-5, they've been incredible. And then overall, not really allowing a lot of Rangers to the house. Doing a better job of protecting the net front. That's one thing that the Rangers were doing unbelievable, and I still think they are. But the last thing you got to say is right now, Jack Hughes is putting on a Conn Smythe type performance. Like they're not getting an incredible amount of offense. They've dried up since regular season and what their standard was then. but it seems like they've really tightened up defensively and figured things out, and then Jack's coming through in the clutch.
I was just tipped off by a little birdie that the boys were doing their little Devils Rangers talk, and I wanted to sit in, supervise, and make sure you were paying them the respect they deserve, and it definitely sounds like you're doing that, Biz.
Yeah, we are. We're respecting you guys now. You've earned some respect after those 2 games in MSG, but these playoffs, and every year there's always these storylines. This will be the series where the road team wins every game. So it's perfect the Rangers have. They don't have home ice. It's going to be that series talked about. All 7 games, the road team won.
No chance. No chance. Devils are in the driver's seat now. They're not looking back. They're going to take the next 2 games, and I think we both know that they're going to mop whoever is in the next round, looking like Carolina, and then basically going straight to the tattoo shop.
So Frank the Tank was disgusted at the fact that you went to Presidential Center or Prudential Center, however you pronounce it, and they went 0 for 2. Are you invited back? Will you be attending the game with Frank the Tank? Is he nixing you from attending any games?
My lifetime record of playoff games at the Prudential Center is 2-2, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay. Well, he didn't say it. I just know that when Whit was texting him or tweeting at him, he was pretty disgusted at the fact that you'd mushed them.
Listen, I'll just say this. The Devils look good, and, I know you guys harp on me for these advanced analytics or whatever, but it's the same reason I knew that team was going to be good. It's the same reason I didn't give up faith in them. In terms of expected 5-on-5 goals for of every team in the playoffs, the Devils are number 1, the Rangers are number 16, dead last. And like I said, the Devils are going to win this series because they're a better 5-on-5 team. Most of the games played 5-on-5. Devils are winning in 6.
Wow.
Nerd. I mean, Siegenthaler, that game winner, what a shot. And to have him be scratched and then everyone be that confused,
that's
pretty cool
inexcusable.
story. It made no sense. I mean, I would love to hear the reasoning behind doing that, but looked awesome in Game 3, and then Game 4, the game winner. And Pat Kane, a little bit of a liability on the game winner, you said?
I mean, just go back and look at the highlight. When Nico chucks that sauce cross ice, Patty Kane just skating in circles, looks like a lost little puppy out there. So he had his big goal, his big moment in Game 2. I haven't noticed him once since. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Any other death threats?
Just the one death threat, but then the guy, after you called him out by name on game notes, the guy apologized, changed his name, changed his profile photo, and then blocked me. So, Whit, I think you scared him a little bit. I mean, if you're going to be sending people, I get hundreds of hate DMs, but for the most part, I mean, they call me scumbag and all that, but they're not life threatening. If you're life threatening somebody, you probably deserve to be called out, and you got some serious issues you might need to get settled. Definitely, yeah. That guy's.
He probably wears 2
wrong.
jerseys to games.
Exactly, but I'd like to shout out the power of game notes here, because they call out the Rangers for suspending me the next day, for blocking me. The next day they unblock me. You call out this guy for the death threats, he apologizes right away. Power to game notes.
Game notes.
They make shit happen.
Yeah, we're movers. We're big movers.
Posh, you were at MSG at least one of those games, were you correct?
Both games, yeah.
Wasn't the mood there? Wasn't it like a funeral over there? I heard it was just dead.
They gave up. They gave up so quick. I mean, I would say with about 5 minutes left in the second, fans are booing. They're going, "What's going on?" People are talking about beating the traffic, getting home. There was no resiliency in that fan base. It was pathetic to see. That place is a joke.
I feel like there's the better fans were over in New Jersey with us, because it was half Rangers, half Devils. Like the hardworking blue collar people we were talking about can afford the Devils. Blue collar
one more time.
They can afford the Devils games. It's all corporate in MSG and nerds wearing the suits and stuff.
These fans at MSG, they cheer louder for the big time celebrities they throw up, and the Hollywood actors and the New York Jets players. That gets more of a roar from the crowd than the Rangers in a one-goal game.
Are you saying that they're back to being the Fugazis?
Oh.
They were never not the Fugazis. The worst fans in the league.
Well, there you have it.
Wow. So this is a guy who has the upper hand right now.
Yeah.
He looked dead to rights, and now we're going back to the Prue, and things have completely switched. If it's exactly the same way it was in 3 and 4 back in Game 5, I'm gonna have to just bow down to you and say, wow, like you kept saying, Devils in 6. You got to lose 2 if you're going to win in 6. And I just can't imagine the Rangers won't have some sort of pushback. Murls mentioned Zibanejad. He's done nothing. So you got to think he's not going to disappear the entire series. I would
agree.
say.
No, I agree. So this morning at Rangers practice, they reverted back to having him in the one-timer spot. They had Kane kind of in front, rotating from there in the bumper. So looks like Gallant has made some adjustments, and so I would expect Zibanejad to be hot and horny, ripping those one-timers in the power play.
That's the inside info I need for tomorrow, Pasha. That's why you have boots on the ground still in NYC for us.
On the ground, baby. I'll be there tomorrow. Better believe I won't miss that game.
Love
Pasha's
it.
showing up as the Uber Eats delivery guy with the Rangers food. It's all poisoned.
And going American whiskey again before, or are you going to change it up? Because you're 0-2 going there before.
I don't know. I know that might be bad luck going there, having those unbelievable hot, spicy chicken fingers. I might not set foot in there. It's bad juju.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I keep saying every night I'm going to go to sleep. I'm not going to watch the games, but how do I not watch that Game 5 tomorrow night?
I look for Timo Meier to have a big night. I think he's going to break through.
Yeah, he's been quiet. Murls, so you've just never gone back to Swedish time?
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know what I'm doing. Every night I'm like, this is it. I'm watching the first period and that's it. And then what happens is I put the computer on TNT so I can hear the Biz and Army, and they wrote me in for the 16 minutes, and all of a sudden the game starts again. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll watch the second period. And I fall for it again at the second intermission. And then I'm like, well, the kid's getting up in 2 hours anyway. I might as well just fight it. And it is not healthy. I'm living RA hours, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you start hallucinating, call me. I'll get you through it.
No, that's what that's from something you ate already.
But here you guys can see now the sun is up here.
If you stay up too long, man, you'll start hallucinating regardless of what you took or didn't take. Whit, let me ask you, like, we're talking about Schmidt here. Like, is it true that, like, sometimes if there's not enough highlights on a pro goalie that can, affect the opposing team, or is that, like, just sort of a myth about goalies?
That's a tough one to answer. I mean, maybe. There is enough pre-scout, and you talk to Derek Lalonde, but his own goalie in Tampa. I mean, yeah, I guess if you have enough video, you could see weaknesses, you see tendencies. So I would buy into that. I mean, the Schmid story is nuts. Like, he was in the USHL 2 years ago, I think. Right, Pasha?
Yeah. I just going back to what I said about on game notes about his name. I went back to fact check that. So his dad's a big karate guy, and he named him after a movie called Akira in the 90s. So that's why he's so zen, so calm, and that ice in his veins.
Yeah, I used to remember the game, like, wasn't called game notes, but the scouting report Yossi used to put up in Wilkes-Barre, and every single time it said the goalie hates traffic in typed upstairs. It's like it's all the same. Like, yeah, if you get traffic in front of him, he can't see it. It's going to go in. It doesn't matter who the goalie is.
Wait a minute.
Boys,
it says this guy loves traffic. What the hell's going on here?
Boys, thank you for
I just
having
want to
me.
see if you were reading this thing.
It's Jordan Binnington loves traffic, so you can blocker guys in the face.
I don't want to crash your parade. I just had to come in here and make sure supervisor you're paying the Devils respect. So thank you for doing that. And we'll see what happens tomorrow night. 4-2 Devils is my prediction.
Oh, thank you, Posh. You Devils expert. Yeah, Game 5 tonight in Newark. I'm assuming you're going once again, right? Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, he's going. He said he's going.
All right.
So we have boots on the ground. We're trying to get boots on the ground in every city of every series at some point here for Chiclets.
All over the fucking place. Let's see. Islanders, Carolina, next up Tuesday in Raleigh. The Islanders live to see another day. 3-2 win over the Canes. They got goals from Engvall, Nelson, and Barzal. Sorokin looked great, stopped 34 out of 36 shots. So the Islanders go home. They win Game 6. They got a chance in Game 7. What, you think they do it? They force a Game 7 here, or what? Are they toast?
I am kind of feeling a Game 7 in that series now. I did not think I've been cold, I told you, but I thought Carolina was going to end it the other night. And as we talked about Hyman, and you get one in the face and it goes in, you don't care. You'll do anything to score a playoff goal. When you're Sebastian Aho, and not only do you get one in the face, but then it bounces down and Brock Nelson has the second nicest midair goal of the week behind Austin Matthews' tip and just bats it in. Talk about a double whammy for a guy. And he ended up scoring later, didn't he? I think Aho scored.
To make it 3-2.
I mean, shows the balls on him and to deal with that. But I was just... that is just adding insult to the injury of a puck in the mouth, losing teeth, and then you're laying there and the guy's celebrating right in your grill. So the Islanders showed up. I mean, that was Islanders style. They're all about, if they get out to the lead, it's like, I think they're going to win. If they go down, they're fucked. They have no offense. But if they can get the lead and then Sorokin starts feeling it, if Game 6 they get out 1-0, I would say that it's over. And we're seeing a Game 7.
They got to be thrilled with where they're at. Going home, Game 6, they're going to lead off with the identity line. Sorokin's back to normal. You'd hope after that junk goal that Horvat scored, he hadn't had a goal or actually a point in the first 11 periods of the series. That he gets that junk goal in the third in Game 4. Last game, assist, drives the net on that Barzal goal. And I don't know if you guys ended up seeing the replay on that, where Barzal, being the giver that he is, looking to pass the entire time. The defenseman could have been more obvious about taking away the pass, probably knowing what Barzal's going to do, but he ends up ripping it home and scores a goal. Well, as he's fucking going to celebrate with Horvat, he's apologizing him for not sliding it over. He's like, I was looking for you. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. It's okay to have that killer instinct once in a while, and look at it, panned out for you. Ends up being a huge, big-time goal. So given the injuries to Carolina, I look at both forward groups, and I like the Islanders better up front. I know systems aside in the way that Carolina plays as a 5-man unit, but, man, Islanders have some game breakers. Like you saw Nelson, what he did off that play off of Aho's face. They got other guys in that lineup who can fucking make some plays, and I don't know, man. I got a nervous feeling for Carolina right now because they got a few, they got some young guys in the lineup and maybe a little bit of inexperience going into a very hostile environment. That'll be the drunkest 1 mile radius on the planet come Game 6.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Ranta was 0-8 or something on the road in the playoffs before that last win, so he is no good on the road. We've talked about their injuries. They're depleted up front. As the games go on, the guys are playing more minutes than they're used to. They're getting more tired and more tired. All this is in the Islanders' favor. I see the shirt you have on there, Whit. That place is bonkers for the games.
Yeah,
Borelli's. And they got Frankie and Stu behind them. I love them in Game 6.
Yeah, Murls, haven't all first period enders cashed in the series so far?
Yeah, I think I saw a stat on that, but I'll tell you another stat I saw, and I knew as soon as I saw it I shouldn't have done it, was the Bruins hadn't given up a goal in the first period, and look what happened tonight. So whenever you see these stats, you got to go the opposite sometimes. I swear, in those little first period stats, they show them to you to try to make you take them. Don't fall for those ones.
How about this one, and given the run that the Islanders have been on in playoffs, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. That game the other night was the first time they've went into the first intermission with a lead in 24 playoff games.
That was sick. I saw that. That's insane.
They've gone into the first intermission with a lead in 24 playoff games, and look at the success they've had. So talk about zombies. These guys don't die. The Islanders don't die.
Go away.
In fact, I would probably say they got Carolina right where they want them.
But if you go up 2 or 3 on them, you got them. I feel.
Yeah.
And in game 5, Mayfield had the tough go of it. Was it Game 1 or 2? The OT winner.
Tough turnover.
Yeah. Well, remember he got high sticked. It didn't get called.
Yeah.
So it's tough go. Well, then Nosen scored. Stefan Nason, excuse me, and they called it back because they went back and saw it was offsides, and it was kind of his fault. It wasn't his fault. They were on the PK, but it ends up being the puck goes right by him. Well, later on in the third period, they had a penalty. They were up 3-2, and he ate about 35 seconds just pinning it against the wall. He kind of killed the penalty himself almost, and that was just enormous for him. And Engvall too, Murls. I asked you about Engvall, and I was reading all this about Islanders recaps, and you said right away, no, he's great for them. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. He was a beast in Game 5 as well. I mean, kind of fits their pattern. Struggles offensively at times, maybe not the most creative, but has the speed. He's all over the puck. And so to have guys like that stepping it up, that's why there is a Game 6.
Bistronomus has a prediction.
Oh, here we go. Everyone listen.
Sprinkle a little bit. Just a tad. Not the whole bankroll, not a unit, not a half a unit, just a little bit on first goal scorer in Game 6, Bo Horvat. I feel like the juju's coming. 2 straight games with a point. He's been getting dogged on left and right. Everybody's saying that fucking offense is dried up like a nun's cunt. They got him on 8x8. Everybody's freaking out. I think he's going to revive his offense, and I think he's going to score the opening goal in Game 6 and get that building rocking. He's going to have the Jets' offensive line with their new quarterback, I'm sure. Rodgers is going to show up and just drop a bomb on the place, chugging beers on the Jumbotron. I got the Islanders in 6-2, Horvat to score the opener.
their power play has been brutal. 6.7 has been their power play. That's probably why they haven't been scoring at all. Like, do you think is the power play? Is that just a personnel issue, or is it a coaching issue? A little bit of both. Like, why does their power play suck so bad?
Because they rely so much on Barzal.
Yeah, it's just like one guy, and I mean, Horvat is a great net front guy and stuff, but it hasn't really been what they hoped it would be when he came over. And if you don't have that stud, every good team, it's 4 forwards and a defenseman. And most of these elite power plays, if they don't have a McDavid, right, you need like a stud defenseman up top, moving it around. I mean, you need somebody like, and Pollock has a great shot, but I don't know how great. What?
No, I said, he's got a good.
But I don't picture him as like a power play QB.
So you see a lot of Islanders fans barking right now because Noah Dobson had a great offensive year last year. I think he really struggled this year in his sophomore campaign, where I see a lot of fans barking online about actually putting Pollock on that first unit and just really simplifying things and then taking Dobson off as that one defenseman. My biggest advice, RA, especially for a meat and potatoes type team like the Islanders, is when you just get the power play, treat it as if it's 5-on-5. Just simplify. Don't worry about finding these seam passes and making the fancy play, because oftentimes when you just simplify things and then you just start directing things towards the net, what happens is the house is going to close up, and then you're going to have plenty of time to work it around and find your shots and get your lanes. So that's just my opinion, where they need to treat it more like 5-on-5. Fuck off with just allowing Barzal to take it in. Dump it in, go fucking get it, because the zone entries haven't been working in their favor either. And you saw that in, I believe it was game 3, when Barzal tried a zone entry like they always do. Everybody's just standing at the blue line watching them. Well, it ends up getting turned over. Brock Nelson gets caught flat-footed, and then they go back the other way, 2-on-1, score shorthanded. So if I'm the Islanders, 5-on-5 mentality when you're up a man and just get the job done. If you don't score, just generate momentum. Don't kill your momentum. That's the biggest thing right there. I know the percentage is low. Just worry about generating momentum.
Yeah, I would get out of the 1-3-1. Everybody's doing the 1-3-1 now. Islanders, it obviously doesn't work for you guys. Go back to like a 2-3, 2 guys up top, get 3 guys around the net and just pound pucks at the net and get some ugly ones.
Because Barzal's in a flank position and he's not a threat with his shot. So everybody, it's easier for them to read what's going to happen because they're more concerned about the pass lanes than respecting what he's going to do with his shot. So to me, I don't know, fucking maybe they change it up and they make Horvat one of the flank guys and then make Barzal the bumper. Yeah, I don't know.
They got to do something.
Adjustments, not enough adjustments have been made. I think the only power play goal they've gotten was the Paul Murray one that ended up being a big one in game 3. And what did they do? All they did was fucking find a lane, fire it to the net, and then he tipped it in. Meat and potatoes hockey. Islanders, the zombies. They ain't dead yet.
Okay, before we go any further, here's a word from our friends at Cross Country Mortgage. Buying a home can feel like a brawl. If you want to come through the other side with all your teeth in your mouth, you need a team that has your back. That's why Chiclet Nation skates with Cross Country Mortgage. They're dedicated to getting it done with a home buying game plan that makes sure that you get your mortgage win. Cross Country Mortgage has a team of loan officers dedicated to getting it done and finding you the best possible loan terms available. They have an average close time of 21 days, which is ridiculously fast. They've got a wide variety of loan types, which means they've got everything to cover everyone. With huge variety of products, they cover everything from renovations to refis to everything in between. So go with the guys that will be on your team when buying a home, Cross Country Mortgage. They're dedicated to getting it done for you. If you need any more information about Cross Country, please go to ccmlens.com. Also, get a rate quote today, and CCM will send you some Barstool swag. Go to crosscountrymortgage.com/Barstool. If you need more information about Cross Country, please go to ccmlens.com. Murls, I want to ask you, Anthony Riley, he's been pretty good some games, not so good in other games. Freddie Anderson hasn't been dressing. Do you think there's any chance we see, Peter Kochetkov, who had some pretty good games for them this year? You think if they get desperate?
I know you love the goalie changes, but they're still up in the series. If you change the goalie now, it just puts panic in the whole organization. You're up 3-2. You got to think you're in control. You got to show you're in control. You do a panic goalie change like that, you're done.
I'm actually shocked that Ronta's been able to stay healthy. Because usually you see every time within a series, he ends up like pulling a groin or getting bumped into, and he's out with a head injury. And I'm not ragging on the guy. I don't think I've ever seen a goalie go to the IR more than him. And and the Leafs got Matt Murray, and I'm saying that. So overall, though, he's been kicking. He has not been the issue. I'd keep him in too.
I don't know if you guys have been watching these streams that have been going on at Borelli's. Just incredible stuff. They are just psychotic fans. But some of the funniest clips right now on the internet are Stu Feiner and how much food he is consuming at Borelli's during this game, and him stealing Frankie's ice cream yesterday on the stream. It's some of the funniest content I've ever seen. So if you haven't seen those videos yet, we're posting them on Chiclets. Viva La Stool post them. Go check them out because they're unbelievable. And I think the streams are on Barstool Sports YouTube as well. So check them out there.
Stu, he is a fucking absolute character for sure.
Maniac.
Next up, Minnesota, Dallas. Dallas, they're 1 win away from moving on to the second round after a thorough 4-0 whitewashing of Minnesota. Give them a 3-2 series lead. Sagan, Robinson, Marchment, and Dellandrea were the goal scorers in that game. Stars power play is third in the league, 40.9%. That's pretty good shit. They were only 24% during the year. Let me ask you, Whit, what's Pete DeBoer doing that Bones couldn't or wouldn't do last year, you think?
I think he has Jake. They had Jake Ottinger last year. This guy it's insane. He right now is dominating this series, and I mean more referee drama, right?
Oh.
And Biz, you guys did an unreal job. I think it was you, Anson Carter, and who's the old referee that works with you guys?
Well, Brad Meyer, and then we had Hank there as well. We're actually going to roll the clip of the full breakdown of us talking about it, and then we can come out of it. So I hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. It might be a little bit harder to understand because we were explaining it when you could see it on TV. So we're going to get into it afterward more in depth if you don't understand this clip.
Players' perspective on what you saw from Marcus Foligno and that hit on Radek Fox.
I think it's very unfortunate for both sides. I think that it sucks for Marcus Foligno because he was clearly going to make a shoulder hit. You have to be in control of your body. But this is more for Dallas fans to understand that this was not a dirty, malicious play. And then we'll end up getting to your call on it. But let's roll the tape to get everybody a little bit more of a breakdown. This puck ends up going in the air. And as a player, you can't close your hand on the puck. So when Faxa gets it, it ends up going to his backhand side. And you could see that Foligno's planted, right? So as Faxa comes down to the ice, it looks like it's going to be a shoulder-to-shoulder hit because he's square. But because it ends up on his backhand side, the way that your top hand has to go and bottom hand, he ends up rotating. So it opens up his top part of his body where the only part that ends up making contact is leg on leg. Now, I get it. As a Dallas fan, you're thinking, this is dirty. This is knee on knee. But me and Ace are going to go through it right now to show you more so in slow-mo as to how this actually works, okay? So as Faxa comes up and grabs this puck, keep in mind, he can't close his hand on it because that's a 2-minute minor. It ends up quickly going to his backhand side. So as it goes there, and as it goes to his backhand side, he has to rotate to adjust to the puck. So all of a sudden, when it was square coming in, he ends up going like this. So now he's got nothing to hit as far as the upper body, and that exposes his leg. Now, once again, it's just an unfortunate situation, Ace, and I'll hand it over to you. But as a player, Foligno, you have to be in control of your own body. But I don't think this was malicious at all. I still question on whether it should have been a 2 or a 5, but anything that you want to chime in with?
I don't think it's malicious at all either. I think Marcus Foligno went in, and he's already committed to the hit. Like, when I'm watching him, he's thigh on thigh with Fox right there. If he extends his knee or extends his leg, then I think it's going to be an issue. I think it's an issue. Is that your phone? But when I see Foligno going in and he makes that contact, he could have easily, if he's trying to hit knee on knee, he could have easily hurt himself as much as hurting Faxa. So I don't think Foligno went in there to try to take his knee out. And Faxa, if he stays square, I don't think he takes the brunt of that impact on his leg because I think his shoulder would.
It would have been square.
Malicious or not, you're looking at this, and they reviewed it because it was a 5 minutes, and they decided to give the 5-minute and the game. You agree with that?
I do, 100%. And Biz made a good point. The very first statement where the initial contact is leg on leg, and that's the key. If in the play he goes in to make the hit, and there is a little bit of shoulder, and then there's knee on knee contact, you have a little more latitude. But because the initial contact is leg on leg or knee on knee, it's thigh, whatever, and he basically, that's the first contact, and he flips him over and down he goes.
Do you take into consideration the fact that the leg stays straight versus he's leaning into it.
Yeah,
Would you take when it comes to potential suspension, or would you look at that?
Yeah, sometimes they're very obvious where they stick the leg out, right, and then make contact. This one here, it's just an unfortunate hockey play. I agree. I don't think it was malicious at all. But the unfortunate part of it is that initial contact is leg on leg.
Does the ref, when watching that tape, take into consideration the fact that when he grabs that puck and it goes to his backhand, in order for Faksa to make the play on the puck, he has to rotate his upper body. Therefore, Foligno, he can't make contact with his shoulder and or chest because he completely rotates like that, where there's really nothing for him to hit here. That space all of a sudden is non-existent.
Yeah, but that's not Fax's fault either, right? The onus is still on the guy making the hit. And again, I don't think it's malicious, but the unfortunate part is.
And you don't have to extend your leg out, right?
But that's also why I say, well, yes, he still obviously would get a 2-minute penalty as opposed to 5-minute where that's malicious. That's where I'm saying is, why wouldn't it just be a 2 then if they're taking that into consideration?
The 5 isn't because it's malicious. The 5 is because of the degree of the impact, the degree of the force involved in the play. And when a 5-minute penalty is assessed, it's an automatic game misconduct. The only one more severe is a match penalty where maybe there's a fight situation or something where a guy knees a guy when he's down, and that would be on the extremes.
Yeah, so before I go to you, I was very surprised that it ends up being a major. And Murls gave me the quote that I thought was perfect. It was Dean Evanson. He said 2 guys were going at each other, and 1 guy decided to move. And there was no sticking out of the knee. And I know the breakdown did a good job, but give me your opinion on that standing as a major.
Oh, for me, I like I said, it was Faksa who moved, and if you take that into consideration, the hardest problem, though, for officials is not only they're reviewing it, but I think there's a subconscious element when the other guy goes down the tunnel who got hurt, where he's the victim of the hit. They probably have to assume this guy's not coming back. So to only give him 2 and allow Foligno to stay in the game, if in fact it ends up being like an injury that lasts longer than not only just that game, but further, then you're like, God, like we saw the hit, the guy ends up injured from the play, and then the onus has to be on the guy throwing the hit. But as I said in the breakdown, he has his feet planted and he's ready for the hit. And that guy comes down after jumping, Faksa, from grabbing the puck. And when he gets down, his first, like when you freeze the tape after the puck starts coming down towards his backhand, they are both square to each other. So all of a sudden, but because that puck, and it was his own fault, he grabbed it and put it to his backhand, he completely rotates his body, so therefore there's nowhere in the chest or shoulder for Foligno to hit him. So yeah, it ends up going leg on leg. It looked really nasty, and I can understand giving him the 2-minute minor because the onus is on the player, but there was no malicious intent. He was squared up, and as Dean Evanson said, it's like, the other player moved. If you're trying to dodge a hit and you end up getting injured from it, the onus should be on the player trying to avoid the hit, in my opinion. So I know Dallas fans were happy about it because they feel like, well, at least at the beginning of the series they were getting hosed. But I tell you what, man, games 4 and 5, have you ever seen a player be on the wrong side of 3 calls in your entire life the way that Foligno has? I mean, did we roll the audio of Foligno describing those to media members, the 2 calls that he got hosed off?
Yeah, I think that was last episode.
Okay, so I didn't know if we ended up rolling the clip, but he was like, it was fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. And I do believe he's been hosed the most out of anyone. And then they go down on that 5-man power play, and who's the guy who's been stepping up for the Dallas Stars now that Pavelski's not in the lineup?
Tyler Seguin.
He's been all over the net front, and we ended up having him on. And I think we should actually go to this too, because we were able to interview him after the game. And Anson Carter talked about how he's been able to replace Pavelski, and if there's anything Pavelski has given as far as advice in order to, have this type of success come playoff time.
Segs, great game tonight. I had to double check and make sure in some of your goals that you're wearing number 91 and not number 16. Joe Pavelski not being in the lineup. You're doing a great Pavelski impersonation. Are you talking to Joe off the ice a little bit, or you've been watching him all season long to see what he's been doing in front of the net?
I've been watching him since he touched down in Dallas a couple years ago. Doing whatever I can to, keep the seat warm and not mess up that power play unit.
So coming out of that, Tyler Seguin currently has 4 playoff goals right now. He had 4 playoff goals in his previous 33 playoff games. And this is a guy who was playing banged up over the course of the last couple seasons, but really elevating his play at the right time, even after all this criticism in the last couple years about him and Jamie Benn making all this money and not being able to produce to the standards in which they did. So it's impressive to see in Dallas. They're making Minnesota pay. And I guess we could probably hand it off to the leading point getter in all of playoffs, Roope Hintz, and what he's doing as that first line center.
He's unreal. He's so fast. And Dallas now, the word is Pavelski's going to play Game 6 or may.
No shit.
Yeah, so he may play. So I guess it's not the word that he's playing, but it seems that everything's going their way. Minnesota's PK is horrific. Dallas has 2 or more power play goals every game except for the game 3. So if you can't stop not only are they getting screwed on the calls, then they can't even bail themselves out. So as everything's looking on the up and up for Dallas with their goalie and how good they've looked, and that's a big just shutout win at home. I mean, they went to Minnesota after game 2 where they had a great game. And, I mean, they went and they were horrible. They got work. So I don't think this series is over yet. I do not at all. I think that this goes 7.
If they have any chance of coming back in this series, they got to see the Kaprizov they did in the regular season. He just hasn't been as dominant. You see these shifts sometimes where he's got those 10-2 hips, Murls, where he's buzzing around the offensive zone, where I would say that any regular season game you watch, there's probably 4 shifts where he just completely takes over. And I would have to imagine that he's still a little bit injured. He missed 13 games at the end of the regular season and came back just in time for playoffs. And he just hasn't been able to get that time and space. And you go back to game 1 when Suter was all over him, giving him those nasty cross checks. You wonder if maybe that has discouraged him a little bit, where the less time and space come playoff time, it's just a harder time to perform. And Billy G has also said it multiple times and a lot during this regular season. He's a Russian player. He's a superstar. He's going to get that nasty attention from defenders. He doesn't get the calls like the North American guys do. He doesn't. And that's a fact. If you can see clip over clip, even go back to that game 1 when Suter's fucking buries him 2 times and he doesn't end up going to the box as a result of it. And the other guy also, Murls, I'm looking at is Boldy. He did so much for this team to get into playoffs by catching on fire with the absence of Kaprizov. It's just sometimes these young guys, man, like you're not used to playing that full 82 and then having to ramp it up for playoffs on top of that, where you're playing night in and night out and the body's maybe just not developed at that state.
Yeah, you got to learn how to raise it up. But I want to go into, I know RA is going to love this, but I got to talk about Otter. I love him. He looks so great. But what do you do with the goaltending in Minnesota? Do you
go back to Gus.
Do you throw Flower in to try to get some magic?
No, you go back to Gus. That's
all right.
The 2 power play goals in the first period. And another thing too, Murls, is how many power plays did Minnie have in that second period? They had 3 power plays and they weren't able to execute. I get it. Sometimes, and Whit, you could speak more to this, right? Is when you're a guy who's playing 20, 22 minutes as a defenseman, and more specifically, your special teams is power play, not penalty kill. If you're shorthanded for 7 minutes of the first period, it takes some of the guys out of the game. You're sitting there the whole time, and you're on the kill where you're not getting your touches. So all of a sudden, the whole first period, it seems like their top-end guys are taken out of it because they're in the box. And then the second period comes, and then finally they get their opportunities where they're just sleeping. They're sleeping on the power play. They go 0 for 3, and then that was their opportunity to come back into the game being down 2-0.
Kaprizov having 1 point in 5 games, like the fact that they're still alive shows that it's kind of shocking, at least to me. Like if you told me that through 5 games he'd have 1 goal and not 1 assist, I'd say, oh, well, they lost in 4 or 5. So he's definitely injured, though.
Yeah.
And you respect guys that are out there grinding it, but he's probably out there at 70% right now. And then when you don't have that quick burst, that fast twitch that you can't get your body to do it when you're battling this injury and you're in pain, it's just impossible to deal with. So a bunch of different factors to see why Dallas is in the lead, but Minnesota's giving it their all. That's why I'm not overly confident that Dallas closes it out on the road, because that team has heart.
So I would say that probably the first 3 games of the series, I would have leaned to Minnesota dominating play and probably as a result to being ultra physical. The only thing I'm nervous about for Minnesota is with the way they've been punished on these power plays, and I can't even call it undisciplinedness because I feel like they've been hosed on a lot of them. Sometimes what happens is maybe you back off from your game because you're hesitant because you don't want to put your team on the penalty kill because it's been leaking oil. So if they have any chance of coming back in this series, they have to get back to that physical play where all guys are involved and getting on that forecheck, banging bodies for Dallas and putting them on the ropes and then getting more traffic around Ottinger. That's the only chance they have winning at home in Game 6.
And you brought up Bunting, Hurt, Cernak. Like, I remember in the playoffs, guys. You guys will know. It's like maybe you take a run at Ottinger, right? Like not run.
Blow a wheel, slide in there.
That's gonna get more engagement than your fucking jersey take.
Are you trying to say that you've never like? All right, taking a run at him wasn't the right word.
No,
but
like in front of the net, guy's jabbing you. You just fall down on the goalie, like on purpose.
This is making me sound like he's never heard this before.
No, I'm gonna say. I just thought it was funny. The only chance they have coming back in this series is going Corey Perry accidentally on purpose, giving him the people's elbow on an Ottinger knee.
That's it. I mean, Ottinger's he's unbeatable right now.
You gotta do something.
Who would you pick as Minnesota's kamikaze?
Revo.
Well, Foligno might as well just do it. He's going to get tossed anyway.
Yeah, he's going to do it for free. You don't even got to give him the shoulder tap. Imagine you see Revo like that. Remember that kid from college a couple of years ago after the game? Everybody had left the ice. And the net was on the moorings, and he just sprinted from center ice and went crashing and pushed the net over. I don't know why the kid was tweaking, but what if Revo just starting face-off, just the plays in his end, he just beelines to the other end and just buries Ottinger. Oh, yeah, we should probably get away from this or we're going to be having some death threats of our own.
Yeah, so I called out Ottinger the other night. I was saying under 2.5 goals for the Wild. I said, I should maybe sprinkle on the shutout. Obviously, I didn't do it because I'm a loser, and he got the shutout. He looked amazing the night before. That's why I did it, and he looked even better last night. And I'm thinking, I was talking today about it, maybe taking him for a Conn Smythe as a dark horse RA style 30-1.
Wow.
I don't think there's anything dark about it. And to reiterate what Whit said, I don't think he's got Shahid Kaprizov. I think he's definitely hurt, man, because fucking Suter was cracking him pretty good. And then there's the whole idea that Billy Guerin was the one who called Suter up and told him the fucking he was done with Minnesota. And you wonder if that that even factors in. I mean, guys do take that type of shit, no?
Ryan Suter is playing that series with a serious chip on his shoulder.
He's getting booed every time he touches the puck in Minnesota.
Yeah, he's public enemy number one. After the cross-checks, but even before then, fans wanted him gone. They bought him out. It's a proud guy who's played a long time. He's looking to show them that they made the wrong decision when in reality they didn't. It made a lot of sense. Billy Guerin went over that with us, but fuck yeah, he's pissed off.
Then the other part is too, Marc-Andre Fleury, everything they did to bring him in. I mean, he's got, I think, one start. His goals against is over 7. It's been a rough ride for him. I mean, we obviously like Billy here, but there's probably some room for criticism there considering how Marc-Andre's turned out. 0-1, goals against 7.00, save percentage 7.74.
I know. Fleury's played one game, and they were switching off back and forth at the end of the season when they went on that magical run. So he played extremely well leading up to playoffs to where eventually they obviously gave Gus the nod. I actually think in Game 2, they knew that Dallas was going to come out guns a-blazing, and Fleury just happened to be the sacrificial lamb, where they were maybe in some cases considering trying to save Gus's confidence because they knew that the storm was about to come. And sure enough, that's how it went. You can argue whether that Gus should have started Game 2, which I would have went back to Gus. But overall, you can't also look past the experience and what Fleury probably rubbed off on Gus. This is a young goalie in the NHL. You need an experienced partner in order to show you what you need to do to be a true professional. You need a buddy to lean on who, let's say you're Gus, right, and you're going through a 3-game stretch where you're really fighting it. to have a wily veteran netminder who's literally, Fleury has seen every single situation you could see as a goaltender.
He backed up Matt Murray to 2 cups. Like, he's done this better than anyone.
He's won one as a starter. He's won it as a backup. So he's that calming voice where he can lean on, where, yeah, in most cases, all these teams have goalie coaches, but just to have a guy who who's been through it too. And even so much so, when we interviewed him the one time, he talked about how he's also a prankster, and that has rubbed off on him from Fleury as well. So one thing that Fleury hasn't adapted was the eating the pepperettes to avoid cramps that Gus does. And I'd imagine maybe the reason guys aren't going to the crease is because he's dropping fart bombs during the game from the pepperettes.
Ottinger's going to have some in case somebody goes near his crease now.
Yeah, he's going to be pooping his pants all over, diarrhea in his crease. But that's pretty much all I had to say. And then, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Heiskanen and just...
Yeah, he's great.
He is all ends of the ice, the how he drives their team and their offense. Right. I know that Carlson's going to win. Carlson's probably going to win the Norris, but he should definitely be a finalist and a strong consideration.
I mean, he actually plays defense too.
That's the thing. He's almost like a poor man's Cale Makar, the way he's able to gap up on you and take away your time and space from a defensive aspect, but yet have that motor offensively where he could be a one-man breakout. He can juke guys, and he's a horse where he's playing 25 minutes most nights, which we all know is iron lungs in the NHL.
And for Dallas, it's starting to look like it. They might have an easier ride to that Western Conference final if you're paying attention to the game right now.
But it just makes me take another L. And Seattle, holy shit, guys. Wow. It's 3-1 right now with 6 minutes left in the third period. They're about to take a 3-2 series lead.
Going home.
I think a big factor to this is the bounce they got in Game 4, because not only did they win Game 4 at home, that hit that Cale Makar ends up putting on McCann to put him out, only 40-goal scorer for the Seattle Kraken this season, but I'm imagining because he wasn't thrown out in that game, he's punished with Game 5. So currently the Colorado Avalanche are down 3-1 to Seattle in Game 5 in the third period, and Colorado's at home playing out without their best defenseman. We just talked about Heiskanen and what he brings. If you take a defenseman out who helps drive your offense to the rate that Cale Makar does, you're talking about forwards who are used to just blowing the zone as opposed to staying on the wall to be an outlet, because when Cale Makar has it, he's able to just walk it out of the fucking zone most of the times. So this throws off your entire team when a guy of his magnitude is taken out. And we talked about that the big component as to why they had that playoff push towards the end of the season was the big three: Rantanen, McKinnon, and Makar. And you take one of those out going against a Seattle team that's as deep as they are, good luck.
I know, but they didn't have Makar. Like, the end of the year, they were 17-2-3 without him this year. So 100%, like, you're not replacing him at all, but Seattle, they just don't stop coming at you in waves. And I wish I mentioned Eberle earlier, because, like, he went through a lot of shit in Edmonton as well. All those years he was there before he was finally traded, he got to experience the playoffs of the Islanders, where he was always great for them in big games, and now he's showing up tonight. Well, what's happened this game, though, we got a little referee drama, and McKinnon lost his mind. McKinnon put on one of those sick, tight turn moves. I haven't seen the replay, but he gets taken down, and no call. He looks at the ref. He's screaming at him, slashing the glass with his stick. Well, at the same time, Seattle's flying up the ice. Eberle, unreal move, goes around the net and finds Ty. It's his first goal of the year. I don't even know if he played up at all.
Yaki or something.
Oh, wait, real quick. His name is pronounced Cartier.
I just looked him up. He played all year in Coachella. He wasn't drafted. Like, scored a huge goal in this game. But, Biz, when you see the replay, McKinnon, he lost it. But it's hard. You got to get back in the play. No, he ends up changing. So I don't think it led to the goal. But you see, he's furious. He thinks they missed a call. And Seattle, they're now going home with the chance to win this thing.
Oh, my God. With that crowd.
Holy shit.
I heard it's amazing up there.
The roof will pop off. Second best home crowd right now, in my opinion, next to Edmonton. Hackstall was asked about it after the game, about the McCann situation. And he's like, we've been doing it all year. Next man up. You say they throw this guy in the lineup, and now he makes it an instant impact. It's bonkers. We actually ended up interviewing Jordan Eberle after that game at TNT, and he had some pretty cool comments just about the team in general and what's made them successful and some of the guys they've added in order to bolster that depth on their team. So why don't we throw it over to that?
Ebbs, it's Biz here. I feel like you guys don't get enough respect, and when talking to Colby Armstrong earlier in the year, you said that this is the deepest team you've ever been on. How does it feel to have a team where every guy's pulling the rope and contributing night in and night out?
Yeah, that's what we rely on all year is our depth. I think from forward 1 to forward 12 and all 6D, we just contribute. We work hard, we stick to our structure, and we play fast. And that's kind of been our identity all year. You got guys chipping on each night, and that's why we've found success this year.
Ebbs, just a big game player. Canadians, tell me if I'm wrong. I think maybe the best player in the history of the Canadian World Junior team. Maybe not, but
maybe
up
most
there.
clutch.
Most clutch. Okay, we'll go with that. I know Bedard's points and everything, but back to the hit. I don't really understand how it's called the major so they can review it. We've been over that. Love the rule. It gets rescinded to a 2, and then you get suspended.
Yeah, because the official on the ice just made the wrong call. I get Makar still throwing the hit. Makar is not a malicious player. He doesn't have that in him. He does play with an edge, and I would imagine that runs down from McKinnon, where most guys kind of play with that bite. But the in which the play goes is McCann's on the right side of the ice. So as he shoots it, Makar follows him up because he assumes that the rebound is going to end up on the backside below the goal line, backside of the net, where it's in the corner, and end up where he ended up hitting him, and assumed the puck was going to drop, and he doesn't hear the whistle. So sometimes as a player, when that time passes from when he originally took the shot, which was in the slot, and now he's in the corner and he hasn't touched the puck, he eases off. He lets up. He's not flexing anymore, and he's not in his squat position and not bracing himself to take impact. So Makar probably freaking out, not hearing the whistle, and assuming that rebound is going to finally drop above their heads right around where they are battling in the corner. He throws that hit, and with him not bracing himself, sometimes when you get hit in the shoulder against the glass, your upper body sticks. So then it makes your legs swing out from underneath you where you go lateral. And when he went lateral, when he comes down, he lands on his shoulder and head. I don't think they've diagnosed or said what he's out with right now. My assumption would be a concussion, the way that he landed, and or maybe an AC separation. But no doubt in my mind that Makar, even though not malicious, deserved to serve the game. That's why I said the problem with Colorado was they probably, now knowing that they lost game 4, would have wished they would have lost him in that game and then had him playing in this one here. Oh, big 3-2.
Not over yet.
3-2. They're marching back.
They pulled the goalie with 4 minutes left. They just get one. They got 3.5 minutes to get the tying goal. Now, of course, this is going to go to OT.
All right.
Murls is going to miss the walk to school.
Yeah. Late game always goes OT. Hey, that kid looked like Makar that was in the crowd there. Yeah, Makar is the huge loss. You know he was trying to hit McCann. McCann's one of their top players. He didn't mean to hurt him that much, but like you said, he wasn't tensed up. He seems like a light kid. Like he doesn't seem like he weighs too much, McCann. And Makar is just he's a beast.
Yeah,
so unfortunate, but
I don't have much else to talk about the Seattle Kraken other than that social justice warrior buoy's about to win his first round playoff series for the first time in franchise history, and he looks like he's going to fucking loot a target.
I feel bad saying it, but I'd much rather Dallas or Minnesota play Colorado. I guess I got to start showing Seattle respect. They are fun to watch because they're fast, but I just don't want the Avs out yet.
No, it's too bad because Nikushin's gone too. You forget about him gone and
does
Makar
anyone know
gone.
the story? Apparently, middle of the night, he packed up and went back to Russia.
I've heard some couple other rumors. I don't know if anything's really official. I don't want to be a rumor boy with that kind of stuff.
We're the rumor boys.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the personal life stuff, we usually just leave that stuff alone, guys, and that's just how we operate because we can understand the stresses of real life, and we don't want to get speculating about tough situations.
Yeah, this is just an update. There's not really speculation from Peter Baugh, the great beat writer at The Athletic for Colorado. He said, no update from Jared Bednar on Valery Nichushkin. He said the team is still in contact with him, and it's not a legal situation. So, not speculation, just passing that along. So
huge loss. Huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're playing without 3 of their better players. Nichushkin, Landeskog, and now Makar. That's a big part of your core being taken out. And when you're playing a team with the type of depth that Seattle's had all season long, and as you heard Ebb say, you're in an uphill battle now if they don't pull this one out.
Wow, big score just come over the wire. Seattle 3-2 winner with an opportunity to knock out the Stanley Cup fucking champion Avalanche. I can't believe this, man. This is a stunner. Absolutely stunning that it's going to happen. I mean, who did anybody pick them or bet them in all our shit that we put out there? No one did it, right? No one.
I think I picked Colorado in 5. They've owned me all year, Seattle.
Dude, I can't wait till we get there for the Winter Classic next year.
Oh my God, just unreal. Over the wire here, Jordan Eberle suspended for Game 6 for misgendering Bowie in that interview that we did. Oh my God.
Wow. You're going to get the death penalty then.
Holy shit, dude.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he referred to him as a he, and he doesn't like to be referred to as, oh my God, this is just fucking nuts. So that kind of is a pendulum swinging moment where you get Makar coming back and then Eberle out. That's fucking nuts. Anyway,
I'll give you a quick little stat on that series. Just came across my Twitter. No NHL team has ever defeated the defending Stanley Cup champ in their first ever playoff series. Chris Jastremski, I think that's your TNT guy.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Jazz.
Jazz is the best.
Jazzy. What a stat that is.
Oh, he's the stat man.
Yep.
Holy shit, Seattle. Good job. Okay, let's see. Justin Braun, congratulations. He retired after 13 NHL seasons. I'm not sure if you caught it a couple weeks ago, boys. Did you see that Torts actually let his dad stand on the bench for his last game? It's kind of low-key, but someone put it on Twitter. That's a really cool thing. You ever hear that before, Whit? Like, having a parent on the bench? I mean, it's different, but I thought it was a really nice gesture Torts did.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know it was the whole game. I thought it might have just been the last period, but either way, I mean, just to have that experience, I mean, he was very happy after that they got to do that. All the memories of your dad and mom, for that matter, driving you to the rink and just putting in the time and effort to have you achieve your dreams. And as it's kind of all ending, the last game, the last period, your dad's with you. I've never heard of that, and that was a cool gesture. It's probably the coolest thing that happened in the Flyers organization this year.
Except when we met Hazy for beers a few months ago.
Yeah.
That might have been it. Fuck. Murls got some hockey coming to Sweden next year. The Global Series, 2023 Global Series is going to be in Stockholm. They're playing at Avicii Arena. We got the Wings, Wild, Leafs, and Sens. What should fans look forward to do? What's going to be going on over there, Murls?
I love it. I've been waiting for this because I think I can talk you guys all into coming over here so we can have a big Chiclets. It's in middle of November.
Okay.
The SHL will be going on, so we could catch a couple of SHL games, some Allsvenskans game. We could have a time. Whit, I've done the research. There's going to probably be no golf. We'd have to travel 2 hours south from Stockholm to find a golf course open. So I don't know if we could get a sandbagger mixed in.
Hey, Stockholm's close to other European countries that have golf in November. I would love to go over there.
I remember a story you went with Zetterberg on a private helicopter to go golf. So, maybe we can do something with him while you're here. But Sweden will be great. If there's fans coming over, you're going to love it. You got to try the kebab pizza. I have the restaurant with the best Swedish meatballs. I'll have an entire blog by then for the whole concierge of Stockholm for all these North Americans that are going to come over. And I think it's amazing that there's going to be 4 teams here.
That's classy of you, Murls.
Yeah, I'll take care of everybody.
Are they just playing in Stockholm?
Yep. Yeah, they'll all be at this big, I guess it's called Avicii Arena now. When I played in it, it was called Globe Arena. It's right next to your garden and AIK's rink where, you only played 2 games with, but.
So maybe I was thinking maybe we should go to Australia, but I guess we'll start it off in Sweden instead. I mean, the only thing is it seems like they have stuff in Sweden almost every year or every other year for the World
every other.
Games,
I think I feel like every other.
Australia would be a great opportunity because you just never know when it's going back. It's been years and years since they've done that.
Are those preseason games or are those regular season?
They're preseason?
Yeah, Australia's going to be preseason at Rod Laver Stadium.
Okay, well, fuck.
We'll do both.
You want to go both? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And we go to Australia. Let's keep going left. So we'll fly over Asia instead of coming back the other way.
I think where Sweden and Australia is the furthest away from you can be in the planet from each other. So that'll be a tough flight from Australia up here.
That's why we're training you for it this season, Murls. All these back and forth flights.
Yeah, Stockholm's easy for you guys.
Murls, you know the most isolated set of islands on the planet?
Nope.
Hawaii.
Boom. Good job, Wade.
I was just going to say the last thing on on my mind, Calgary's getting a new rink. So, well deserved, I'd say. I guess that's not the right term, but they needed it. That place, great atmosphere. I actually loved playing there, but I've never been to a game as a fan, and apparently it's been a while now in terms of like we got to get something new. We got to get a state-of-the-art arena, and we got to get with the times a little bit, and so that'll be unreal. I don't know where it's going in the city. Did they say that already?
I don't know. It's gonna be partially on the Stampede grounds, not far from where it is right now. And I also asked that Brad Meyer, who was the official who jumped in on that explanation of the Foligno hit. He said that the plan is right now is to bulldoze the old Saddle Dome.
Oh yeah,
and then that land would be split between the Stampede grounds and then the city. So interesting to hear that. But yeah, I mean, for you think about the Calgary economy and how much that the Calgary Flames drive it. No brainer to finally get to a deal on figuring out who's going to pay for the cement for the sidewalks.
Yeah, City of Calgary, Province of Alberta, Calgary Stampede, and the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corporation, which of course owns the Flames. They're all in cahoots together. The Saddle Dome, the second oldest barn in the league after Madison Square Garden. They've had the Flames since '83. So yeah, like we just said, it's a long time coming for a new barn for them, but it should be exciting once they get it. I think that pretty much wraps up all the hockey, all the news here, boys. Playoffs have been a ball so far. I can't wait till we do this again. Sunday night?
Sunday night. We'll be here Monday morning. You'll hear from us again. We got some crazy, crazy games coming up in these next few days. Let's see. We got the Leafs storyline. We got the Oilers. Can the Islanders mount this miraculous comeback? It never ends. Are the Devils, Pashas for real? Are they the Fugazis? Or are they the for realsies? We come to find out with the Rangers. So thanks for listening. And we will be back.
Guys, and real quick before we go, we have a vlog coming out on Thursday that's behind the scenes of the whole NYPD FDNY game. And as always, listen to Game Notes, tune into Game Notes on the Chiclets YouTube and on the Chiclets Twitter, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern.
I went 3-1 today for the record.
Don't forget to check TNT tonight, Game 5. Leafs are going to close out Tampa Bay, and I'm back in the saddle with Murls, Liam,
Army,
and Ace.
No, Army.
Yeah, Murls.
I didn't get that. I can come over. I can take one of those TNT paychecks from him.
I think I need some sleep. Army's going to be in the seat, not Murls. Yeah. Although, hey, maybe we go 5-man panel. Dolan will pay for your PJ.
Yeah.
I just got one last note. I just want to send my deepest condolences and sympathies to the friends and family of Bruno Campia. He's a terrific gentleman from South Boston. He passed away from cancer last week. A good friend of the family, good friend of mine. And I just want to tell everybody that knew him, we send our deepest condolences. Great guy. The neighborhood's going to miss him. He was the epitome of a great Bostonian. So we love you, Bruno. We'll miss you. And have a great week, everybody.